When your own child looks at you like a burden rather than a mother, you don't forget the way their eyes change. My home didn't just burn, it vanished in an inferno that swallowed 40 years of toil in moments. The wildfire that swept through our county last July was merciless and hungry. I watched from a mile away as the red glow devoured my farm, the barn that echoed with my husband's laughter, the orchard that bloomed every spring with memories, and the old porch where I'd rocked my baby girl to sleep. And when everything turned to ash, I went to the only place I thought I truly belonged, my daughter's doorstep. Kayla opened the door in a silk blouse, her eyes whitening just enough to register my soot-smeared jeans and my singed hair. She was everything I'd worked for, a confident woman, refined, successful, but her face didn't soften, it hardened. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I lost the farm," I whispered. The words tasted like loss. "I just need a place to stay, just for a little while." Before Kayla could speak, her husband David stepped into the doorway. "We can't have you here like this. You'll ruin the Persian rug." He said this without a hint of humor, like I was trash he didn't want tracked into his pristine world. A $15,000 rug mattered more than my blood. I begged. I didn't want to, but I did. And they turned me away. I stood there on their perfect lawn, humiliated, clutching the phone I still had in my pocket. In that moment, it hit me. Family doesn't always stay true. Sometimes they choose what's comfortable over what's right. As I sat in my old truck, I scrolled through my contacts and found a name I hadn't seen in years. Tom Bennett. The boy from next door. The one whose mom never cooked and whose dad never came home sober. The boy I fed, sheltered, and helped with homework. He'd gone on to become someone big. Would he remember me? My finger hovered over his number, and I realized something. My daughter's rejection wasn't the end. It was the ignition. I made the call, and I didn't know then that it would be answered by a billionaire who still called me Mom. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times, long enough for doubt to settle in my chest. I was ready to hang up when I heard it. His voice. "Hello?" It was deeper now, but unmistakable. There was warmth there and something else. Recognition. "Tom, it's Ada," I managed, my voice trembling. A beat. Then everything changed. "Miss Ada? Oh my God. Are you okay?" It was the same voice that had asked me if he could come over after school, the voice that had whispered thanks when I'd passed him a plate of homemade biscuits. It had been 15 years, but he still knew me, and he still cared. I told him everything about the wildfire, the lost farm, the cold rejection at my own daughter's door, the words I hadn't been able to say to Kayla. Fear, exhaustion, betrayal came spilling out. After a long silence, he said, "I'm flying out tonight." "Tom, no, I don't want to disrupt your—" "Miss Ada," he interrupted, voice firm. "You saved my life. Now it's my turn." That was when I learned how much things had changed. The thin kid who used to borrow my husband's old jacket was now worth billions, not millions, billions, Forbes certified and all. And he wasn't offering money, he was offering family. "You're the only mother I ever had, and no mother of mine sleeps in her truck." He booked me a suite at the nicest hotel in the county. I drove there in a daze, past the fields turned black with fire, past the charred remains of my old world. When I checked in, the clerk addressed me as Mrs. Morrison of the Peterson portfolio. I had no idea what that meant, but the way their eyes widened told me it was something significant. I stood under a steaming shower that night, hot water mixed with my tears, and realized I'd been offered a miracle, the kind I never asked for, but desperately needed. Tom wasn't just coming back. He was coming to get me. And Kayla? She didn't know it yet, but she was about to learn what happens when the door you close leads to someone else's palace. Tomorrow, a helicopter landed, not just anywhere, but on my daughter's front lawn. Tommy stepped out, and 3 words changed everything. The next morning, I woke up in a bed so soft it felt like sinking into a cloud. I was still getting used to the idea that I'd gone from sleeping in my truck to sleeping in a suite with Egyptian cotton sheets, all in under 12 hours. I could still hear Tommy's voice in my head. "I'll be there by noon." I didn't fully believe him until I heard it, a deep, rhythmic thumping that rattled the hotel glassware. I hurried to the window just in time to see a sleek black helicopter descending onto the hotel's front lawn. Guests left their champagne glasses and rushed to the windows. Staff stepped outside, unsure if they should intervene or bow. And then he stepped out. Tommy Bennett, the boy I'd once found sleeping in my barn, now a billionaire in a tailored suit, walked across the lawn like he owned the earth beneath his feet. But when he saw me, everything softened. His serious face broke into a boyish grin. "Miss Ada," he said warmly as he hugged me, "it's time we fixed things." We didn't drive to Kayla's house. Tommy flew us there in that same helicopter. As we descended over her neighborhood, the most expensive one in town, I realized just how small her world was. Her gated lawn, her manicured rose bushes, her lifestyle built on appearances. Tommy was about to shatter it. From the sky, I could see the neighbors gathering, phones out, whispers spreading. The helicopter touched down in a small park across from Kayla's house. Tommy helped me out, steadying me with care, and with every step toward her house, I felt something rising inside me. Strength, truth, a reckoning. Kayla came out to the porch, her face pale. David followed. They both stared in stunned silence. Tommy stopped at the foot of their driveway. Loud enough for the neighbors to hear, he introduced himself not as Tom Bennett, but as Tom Bennett, CEO of Bennett Global Technologies, billionaire, and the son of the woman you called homeless. David froze. Kayla stammered. Tommy didn't care. He said, "My mother is not homeless. She's the reason I'm alive. And starting today, she'll never need anything from anyone." He pulled out a document and handed it to me. "A new home, Miss Ada, paid in full, 7 bedrooms, 10 acres, a place worthy of the woman who raised me." My heart pounded. I felt seen, chosen. Kayla just stared. She had no idea her cruelty had led me to a life she could never touch. But that was only the beginning. Tommy had one more surprise for them, and it was worth $25 million. Silence is loud when you're in the middle of a reckoning. Tommy's words hung over the crowd like a thundercloud. Kayla's face flushed, her eyes glassy but defiant. David attempted composure, but I could see it slipping through his fingers like sand. Then Tommy reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He held it not toward me, but toward them. "This is the deed to a new home, for my mother," he said, his voice clear and steady. "A 10-acre property with round-the-clock staff. She deserves comfort, not condescension." He turned back to me, making sure I was holding the envelope. It felt heavier than mere paper. It was a door into a life I never thought I'd have. A life that wasn't about survival, but peace. Before I could speak, Tommy continued. And one more thing. His hand reached for the inside pocket of his coat again, this time for a small leather folder. I set up a trust in her name, $25 million, to ensure she never again has to ask for help. He said it like it was nothing, but the gasps around us told a different story. 25 million for a woman who'd once kept coins in a jar just to buy groceries. David, who dismissed me as homeless, looked like he'd swallowed his own tongue. Kayla stared at the ground. Her facade was cracking, pride collapsing under the weight of regret. Tommy wasn't done. You taught me what family means when mine failed me. You showed me kindness with nothing to gain. That's what loyalty looks like. Not this. He gestured towards Kayla's pristine doorstep, ruled by rugs and reputations. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Neighbors nodded. Some looked ashamed for the way they judged me. Others just watched, too polite to clap, too stunned to speak. I wanted to say something to stop the avalanche, to save my daughter from drowning in her own choices. But Tommy placed a hand on my shoulder, steady and reassuring. He said, "Let's go home." We turned, but before we could take another step, Kayla's voice broke the silence. "Mom, wait!" I froze. Tommy did too. Kayla looked as if she'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. "I didn't mean," she began, but her words faltered. Her eyes darted to the neighbors, to the helicopter, to the life she'd thrown away. And I realized she didn't want her mother back. She wanted what her mother now had. But I had a lesson to teach, one that could not be bought, begged, or borrowed.
Kayla stepped toward me, her voice trembling. "Mom, please, I didn't know." It was almost enough to make me forget the sting of last night, the way she'd stood in that doorway untouched by my desperation. But now it was her turn to feel fragile, to feel the weight of being on the outside looking in. I turned slowly, meeting her eyes. "You didn't want to know," I said quietly. "That's the difference." Her lips parted, but no words came, just the shallow rise and fall of sorrow that came too late. Tommy stepped forward, putting himself gently between us, not as an enemy, but a protector. "Mrs. Randolph," he said, using her married name, "last night wasn't negligence, it was a choice. You chose comfort over compassion, image over love. That's what hurts." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Truth can strip a person bare in a whisper. "Our door is open now," Kayla pleaded, her eyes shining with tears. "Mom, we'll take you in. We'll—" "Take me in?" I repeated, soft but firm. "I'm not a stray to be taken in. I'm your mother." And the crowd heard it, felt it. I turned back to Tommy. "Let's go." As we walked toward the helicopter, I could feel the eyes of the neighborhood burning into my back, some full of sympathy, others disbelief. But I also felt something else, something new, peace. I wasn't leaving something behind, I was moving towards something better. In the air, Tommy glanced over at me, reading my silence like only a true son could. "You don't owe her anything," he said, not with anger, but certainty. "You gave her life. You owe it to yourself to finally live yours." The truth sank in deeper than the flames ever could. And he meant every word. The home he took me to wasn't a house. It was a second chance. But the surprise waiting inside would shake me even more. Tommy's helicopter set down on a wide stretch of land that looked like it belonged on the cover of a luxury magazine. Rolling hills, a sprawling white home with wraparound porches, tall trees bowing in the evening wind. It was more than a shelter. It was a sanctuary. "This is yours," Tommy said, helping me out of the chopper. "Mine."
The word didn't know where to settle as we walked up the brick steps. A woman in a crisp uniform greeted us. "Mrs. Morrison, welcome home. I'm Maria, your house manager, and that's Frank, the groundskeeper, and Elena, who'll be cooking meals. Please let us know how we can make you comfortable." I wasn't used to this. I was used to staining my hands with soil, tending to busted fences, feeding chickens at dawn. Now I was being presented with polished hardwood floors, marble counters, and linen curtains that danced in the breeze. "This way," Maria said, guiding me through the library. Yes, an actual library with floor-to-ceiling shelves and into a sunroom overlooking a lake. "Tommy had this room painted the same color as your old kitchen," she added softly. "Said it would make you feel at home." And it did. The pale yellow walls, the cozy chairs, the scent of something baking, cinnamon and butter. I sat down, too overwhelmed to speak. "You did all this?" I whispered to Tommy. He nodded. "You gave me a home when I didn't have one. I just returned the favor with interest." His smile was humble, but his eyes were proud. And that's when I saw it. Love, not pity. Honor, not obligation. He wasn't saving me from hardship. He was elevating me because he believed I deserved it. We walked to the back porch where the view opened up to the mountains. The sunset painted them in golds and pinks like a promise of peace after years of storms. "Are you happy?" Tommy asked. "I'm trying to be," I said honestly. "I've spent so long surviving. I'm learning what living feels like." He nodded. "Good, because this is just the beginning." I didn't know then what he meant, but the next day I did, because someone came knocking. Someone I thought I was done with. Her eyes were red this time, not with anger, but with regret. And she wasn't alone. Something in her hands promised to take everything Tommy had built and tear it apart. It was late afternoon when Maria came to fetch me. "Mrs. Morrison," she said gently, "your daughter is here. She says it's urgent." My heart tightened. Kayla. Again. But this time was different. When I walked into the front room, she wasn't dressed in her designer tracking suit or flawless makeup. She wore a simple blouse, her hair pulled back poorly, eyes red-rimmed and swollen. She stood clutching a thick red folder, wringing it between her hands. "Mom," she began, her voice shaky, "I need to talk to you." I silently gestured her in. She didn't sit. Instead, she stood in the middle of the room like she wasn't sure she deserved to rest. "I'm sorry," she said, and for the first time I believed her. The air around us felt heavy, weighed by more than just her words. "I know I hurt you. I know I made choices I can't take back. And I thought what I did was justified, but I was wrong. That night, I chose my comfort over you." I watched her, this woman I'd raised, now breaking down before me. Part of me wanted to soothe her. Another part remembered what rejection felt like on that doorstep. "Kayla," I said slowly, "an apology isn't a key to the past. It's a request for a better future." She swallowed hard. "That's why I'm here." She thrust the folder at me. "This is everything I have left. Bank statements, loan paperwork. The house is under foreclosure review. Louis left. He filed for divorce. And I'm drowning, Mom." Her voice cracked. "I thought I had it all. Now I can barely afford groceries, and I'm terrified." I didn't say anything. Not right away. Because beneath the plea, I heard the real request. "You want me to bail you out?" Her lip quivered. "I want you to forgive me, and yes, I need help." "It's funny," I said softly. "You didn't want my mess, but now you want my miracle." Her eyes filled again.
Tommy's money, your house, none of it matters if I lose you. I took a deep breath. Kayla, forgiveness isn't payment, it's peace. And I have it. I forgave you the day I shut my phone off in that hotel. She sobbed. So, will you help me? I stepped closer, reaching out, not to embrace, but to hand back the folder. No, I said simply. She went still. You taught me what I needed to know, and now you need to learn too. But I wasn't leaving her abandoned. I had a different plan, because some lessons come not through rescue, but through truth. And this one will be delivered by someone she never saw coming.
Kayla stayed frozen, her hand still hovering in the air where I'd placed the folder back. Her makeup was smudged, her shoulders hunched. She was a shell of the polished woman who once feared a stain on her Persian rug more than the breaking of her mother. "I don't understand," she whispered. I nodded slowly. "That's the first honest thing you've said." Tears spilled silently as she slumped into a chair. "Mom, I don't know how to do this." "I know," I said gently. "You've never had to. Every time life dealt you a card you didn't like, you discarded it, moved past it, found something shinier. But real living, it shows up when everything falls apart." "You sound like Tommy," she said bitterly. I smiled. "Tommy learned his lessons the hard way. You're just starting." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Are you saying I should suffer? That I deserve this?" "I'm saying you need to face your choices, not run to someone who'll erase them for you." She went quiet. I could see the gears turning behind her gaze, the calculation, the strategy, the panic. Then she looked up. "You're choosing him over me." "I'm choosing peace, and he's part of that, but he's not all of it." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't have anyone else." "You will, when you start being someone you're proud of." Just then, a familiar voice cut through the room, calm, steady, unforgiving. "I think it's time we had a conversation." Tommy stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable, his timing perfect. He wasn't angry. He wasn't smug. He stood like a man who knew the value of every soul in that room and was done letting any of us pretend otherwise. Kayla stiffened. "You're listening to all this?" "Only the part that matters," Tommy replied. He stepped forward. "You think you're losing a mother, but really, Ada is gaining a life that's been waiting for her to claim it for decades." "You think I'm the villain?" she said, accusation trembling in her voice. "No," he said quietly, "but you've lived like one, and now that the consequences are here, you want to pretend they aren't yours?" Kayla's face crumpled. "I don't know how to fix it." "You don't fix it, you face it," I interjected. Tommy nodded. "Here's what I'll do. I'll fund a financial advisor for you, someone neutral, someone who'll help you start from rock bottom with honesty." Kayla blinked. "You do that?" "For Ada," he said simply. "Not for you." The moment hung suspended, tense but tender. It wasn't grace she expected, and it wasn't punishment she got. It was truth. And truth, I realized, is the one thing that can't be bought or inherited, only earned. But what came after was something neither of us saw coming, a message that reminded me what true legacy really looks like.
Later that evening, after Tommy had left with a polite but deliberate final word, and Kayla's car pulled down the long drive, I found myself standing alone in the doorway of my new home, my sanctuary, not just a shelter. I stepped outside into the twilight. The sky was melting shades of orange and lavender over the hills. For the first time in a long while, I felt my breath sink with the world around me. Slow, steady, peaceful. I thought of the years I spent rushing, worrying, surviving. Now I was learning how to just exist, to receive without guilt. Inside, dinner was ready,
Elena had prepared roast chicken and sweet potatoes, the kind I used to make when Tommy was a boy, the kind Kayla always refused for something store-bought or expensive. Funny how tastes change when the pantry's empty. Before sitting down to eat, I checked my phone, something I'd gotten into the habit of doing, not to avoid calls, but to embrace the ones that mattered. There was a new message, not from Kayla, not from Tommy. It was from someone I hadn't thought about in years. Maria Santos. The single mother in Nevada, whose daughter had received surgery thanks to Tommy's foundation, and by extension, me. Mrs. Morrison, I just wanted to send a photo. Emma got to ring the bell today. She's cancer-free because of you. Attached was a photo, a small girl with a bald head and a bright smile ringing a brass bell in the hospital hallway. Behind her were doctors clapping and her mother crying tears that weren't born of grief but of relief. My breath caught. Tears came, but they didn't sting like they used to. This time, they healed. The ripple of kindness you never see until it reaches shore, this was mine. I replied, I'm glad she's well. Give her my love. Then I set the phone down. It buzzed again, not a message, but a news alert. Local woman named Chair of New Rural Empowerment Council pledges support for families in crisis. My name, in the headline, for something I didn't beg for or prove myself worthy of. It just happened because someone I loved believed I deserved more than just survival. I sat down to eat, alone but not lonely. The house was quiet but not empty. The air was filled with something powerful: dignity, grace, legacy. Tomorrow, Tommy was coming with a surprise, something he said would close the loop. I had no idea what that meant, but I was ready because this time I wasn't coming from loss. I was stepping forward from love.
Morning sun filtered into the kitchen as I poured myself a cup of coffee. The aroma filled the quiet, spacious room. Once empty, now brimming with life I thought I'd never have again. Today was the day Tommy said he'd close the loop. I had no idea what that meant, but given the man's history, I expected something thoughtful, something meaningful, and yes, probably something that would make me cry. About an hour later, I heard the helicopter. Not the roar of power, but the hum of arrival, like a heartbeat. Tommy stepped in through the side entrance, carrying something wrapped in fabric. He placed it gently on the kitchen table, face glowing with whatever secret he'd brought. "What is it?" I asked. "Something that belongs here," he replied. Carefully, he unwrapped it. It was a wooden kitchen table, nicked and lot-scarred with years of memories, kneading dough, checking homework, wiping tears, reading bills by candlelight during power outages. "My table," I whispered. He nodded. "I had it restored. We found it in the ashes. Parts were burned, but not the heart of it." I ran my hands along the edges. I could feel the ghosts of my past, holding young Kayla's hands as she traced her name, comforting Tommy when he came in from the cold with bruises he didn't explain. The table had survived what I almost hadn't. "You've given me back the pieces I didn't know I'd lost," I said. "You gave me a whole life when I had nothing," he replied. "I'm just returning what's yours." We sat at the table facing each other. He sipped coffee, I did too. And in that moment, time folded. We were right back where it all began, except now everything was different. "You're not alone anymore, Miss Ada. Not ever again." I reached across and held his hand, "and you never were."
That afternoon, we gathered at the dining room table again, this time with several people. Elena, Maria, Frank, and yes, even Kayla. She was invited, not out of guilt, but grace. She sat quietly, humbled, learning. It was the beginning of a new version of her, too. We ate together, talking and laughing, and I realized this was my family, not born alone, not chosen alone, but survived together. Not perfect, not broken, just real. As the sun set, painting the sky in strokes of fire, not unlike the one that took my farm, I understood. Some things burn to clear the way for things that grow deeper, stronger, rooted in love, not fear. I leaned back, full, and not just from the meal. I think, I said softly, that this is the life I've been working for. I just never saw it coming. Tommy smiled. That's how miracles work. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, tell me, what moment would you have handled differently if you were in my shoes? And what kind of family have you chosen for yourself? Because sometimes love isn't found, it's built. And the best miracles are the ones we make together.